attention.
So just start to settle in. We're about ready to start, but take your time. And, you know, I'm not planning on using anything special today. So get what you want.
It's too cold down here.
Is it cold right there?
All right, so start to sit comfortably. You know, if you're on the floor, you can sit in as many blankets as you want to be comfortable. And if you're in your chair, just make sure you get your feet hip distance apart and parallel. We were all talking about the Saharan dust and how so many people's allergies and eyes and
that's what it is.
Things are starting to get people, yeah. So, hope everybody kind of makes it through this, and it's windy again today, so it's going to be doing the same thing. So sit comfortably and let your eyes close gently, and if your eyes are bothering you, try to forget about it for a few seconds, just by watching your breath come in and go out through your nose. Just feel the top of the head gently reaching up towards the ceiling. And let yourself accept your breaths in and out. Just add a little bit of a rocking motion to your breath. Let your exhales bring you a little forward and your inhales bring you back up. It does not matter how far you go, maybe a couple of inches, maybe you like to go quite a bit forward over your legs. It really depends on how your back feels. But keep that length of the spine. And also just imagine keeping the back of your head in line with your spine, so that you don't lift your chin as you come forward, but you feel length in the back of your throat, really. And then the next time you come back upright, let yourself stay there. And let's release our arms on out beside us here now. And inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right on up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down like wings. And now inhale your hands straight out from your shoulders. And let's twist to our right. So let yourself keep your arms out, but find the twist really right there in the middle of your back. And then once you get as far in the twist as you want, just release your arms on down. And your hands will go wherever they want to from that twist that happened in the middle of your back. So one more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back into center. And once you're again facing front, inhale your arms straight on out. And again, you're going to twist to the left this time, but let your back do the twisting, right? And when you've gotten as far as you feel like you can go, let the hands release down wherever feels good. Feel your feet in the floor, whatever part of your feet are touching. Just press down gently into your feet a little bit. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll release on back around into center again. And we're going to switch the cross of our legs. If you're cross-legged on the floor, you might want to stretch your legs out a little bit first. And then when you're ready to come to the other leg in front, just get comfortable. And, you know, if you're having your legs long, that's fine too. And let's release our arms again on out beside us. And let's inhale the arms out and all the way overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Now, keeping your hands here in front of your chest, start that little rocking motion again. So let your exhales bring you forward, and your inhales bring you up. So again, doesn't matter how far you go, keep that length of the spine. But let yourself feel release here in the back of your neck. Good. And then the next time again that you end up sitting upright, let yourself stay there. And then clasp your hands together and really squeeze your palms together for a second. So you feel your elbows are still bent coming downward. You feel your biceps engaged. You feel it all the way up into your shoulders. And now gently start to press forward out into the heels of your hands, so you're starting to really feel your wrists as you have your hands, the fingers interlaced there. And then slowly rise the hands up higher and higher and higher. It depends on you how high, right? You may decide you want to stay at an angle. You may decide you really feel good to have your hands right over your head. That might not be good for your shoulders. And then just ease a little bit over towards the left, so you're coming into that side stretch in the right side of your body, breathing into the right ribs. And then we'll come back up to the top, and we're going to go a little bit to the right. And again, just really feel that sense of more space on the left side here now. Good. And then come on back up to the top. And now bend your elbows. Bring your hands, they're still clasped behind your head, and hug your elbows forward for a second. Let yourself just release there a little bit between the shoulder blades on your back. And now when you inhale, let the elbows open back wide. And then again, as you exhale, bring the elbows forward. Let your head be gently pressing into your hands. And then let yourself open the elbows back again. And we're going to unfold our arms on down beside us and bring our left arm over our right to give ourselves a hug. Let your chin come on down towards your chest. And feel free to move your head however feels good for you, right? And you may want to roll your right ear towards your right shoulder and come into the side of the neck, or you might want to keep your chin down. You might want to do a little bit of everything, you know, just be mindful, let yourself release there in the neck and between the shoulder blades on your back. Come on back to center, float your head on back up. We are going to switch the cross of the arms, so you now bring your other arm on top. And then again, come on down with your chin. And again, move however feels good. You know, you may even decide, well, I want to let my shoulders even become involved. You know, you might want to let your shoulders move a little bit. Let your head move. Let it feel really good. And then come on back to look forward again and release your arms on down beside you. Let your hands come a little behind you. If you're on the floor, you can be up on your fingertips. If you're in your chair, you can just lean back onto the back of the chair. Let your arms kind of hang down the back of the chair. And on the floor, you know, you can go flat onto your hands or be up on your fingertips. But imagine there's a string attached to your sternum, and it's being drawn forward on a diagonal line. So you're reaching up a little bit. But be really mindful not to, you know, tense up your neck. It's fine to look forward. It's fine to look up a little bit. Good. And then we're going to release to bring ourselves upright. Sit up nice and tall. Let yourself feel like you're a seated mountain here. Feel the feet in the floor. Lengthen up through the top of your head. And we are going to, from here, come around towards our hands and our knees. So, you know, if you don't want to be on your knees, use your chair. Use a blanket. If you'd rather use a blanket and have a blanket underneath your knees, do it, or under your hands, right? And if you don't want to have that deep wrist crease, feel free to come to your fists so that you don't have any wrist crease, or hold the edge of your seat of your chair. But just be mindful. Start to move through your back really easily as you come into your cats and your cows. If you feel like one of or the other is a little too extreme, just don't go so deeply, right? If it doesn't feel too good to let yourself bring your head up to look forward in your cow pose, then just stay looking down. You can still find movement through your spine without adding the neck there, right? It'll feel good, like you're just flowing through your back. Good. Finish off the one that you're on now so that you're able to come back to a neutral spine as you look down there between your hands. And let's come into lunges, stepping our left foot forward and our right foot back. Whether you step back 2 feet or 3 feet or 4 feet is totally up to you. Just remember the alignment of that left knee, making sure it's not going out beyond your toes, feeling that sense of opening up through the back of the right leg here. And let yourself be easy with where you're looking. You know, you might look a little forward to the front edge of your mat. Just make sure you're not looking forward to break the back of the neck there to find that tension. And we are going to switch legs. So however you want to come to the other side. You can feel like you're on narrow railroad tracks, remember, so you feel pretty good up into your hips in your lunge here. And you can enjoy opening through the back of the leg. Engage your belly. Good. And let's go back to the first side. So let's switch again. I know a lot of you really like to bring your front hand or your forearm up to your thigh there. So with your left foot forward, if you want to put your left hand there on your thigh, or maybe come to your forearm if you're in a longer lunge there, it feels really good. Not necessary to do that at all. Good. We are going to switch again. So again, as you find your lunge, you gently press your feet away from each other, whether that lifting up of your right hand or forearm to your thigh feels good or not is up to you. Good. And then if your hand's up, go ahead and bring it down so we can step forward and get our feet hips distance apart and parallel. See if you can bend your knees, and you might want support under your hands here, and lift your heels up. So, you know, whether you have the blocks or the chair under your hands, you're up onto the balls of your feet, right? Your knees are bent. And then lower your heels back down. Take a breath there, let yourself release. If you want to come into straighter legs, go right ahead. Just make sure you're feeling your sitting bones over your heels and you're not locking your knees. Release if possible to feel your head hanging. You know if that bothers you at all. Keep your head more in line with your spine. And then just breathe. Accept those full, deep breaths in and out through your nose. As we let our hands now come on back up to our hips, we'll bend our knees, press into our feet, and come on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So finding your mountain pose, if you need to, adjust around a little bit. If you need to, and remember, if you want to look at your feet, make sure that you're not, uneven in your feet. Like if your feet need to turn out a little bit for your own hips, then make sure they're evenly, both of them turning out a little bit. Try to be as parallel as you can. And then bring your hands behind you, interlace your fingers, and let your hands just slide down the buttocks so that you feel a lot of space between your ears and your shoulders. But you can also tell what your pelvis is doing. You can tell if you're tucking forward with your tailbone. So let your tailbone reach down towards between your heels. Feel that openness across your chest just by having your hands back behind you here. Good, and then release your hands. And we're going to inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, we'll bend our knees and come forward into our standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back. And we will step the right foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose of choice, whether it's hands on the chair, hands on the block, or hands on the floor, right? So just be mindful of feeling okay in your own shoulders. Gently hug your elbows towards each other. And remember, you can bend both your knees and your dog to find that length of your spine. If it feels good to walk your dog to get the backs of the legs a little more open, do. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards a plank. Now again, you know you don't have to do a full plank. You can put your knees down, you can put your forearms down, you can stay in your plank, finding core strength there, or you can even bend your elbows, do little push-ups if you want. And then we'll come on back again into down dog, reaching back equally through the sitting bones. This time the right foot will come forward, and if you need to put your left knee down to get there, you know, be mindful, come as easily as you can back into that lunge. And then we'll step back into our standing forward bend again. So be mindful again, let yourself really, if you need support under your hands or under your elbows, you've got your knees there. If you don't have a chair, you can always put your elbows above your knees. You can put your hands on your blocks. Or you can let your hands release down if it feels really good to feel that full weight of your torso. Breaths in and out through the nose. Imagine that you're breathing equally in and out through each nostril, really. One more full deep breath. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips, we'll bend our knees, we'll come on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands up through the midline, and now bend your elbows. Let your hands stay together in prayer hands, but put them right kind of at either the top or right behind the top of your head, at the back of the top of your head. Elbows are kind of forward. If you feel like lifting your elbows up a little bit, you can. Feel the tailbone reaching down towards between your heels. One more inhale here. And then as you exhale, bring your hands right back down to be in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And we're going to inhale both hands all the way up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms like wings and come on into our standing forward bend. On your next inhale, find a nice long, flat back. And this time, left foot comes back to come into lunge. Draw your shoulders down. Feel your feet in the mat here. Inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So reaching back into your down dog. And again, if you want to walk or bend your knees, look side to side. Really let your body kind of take over in this dog so that if you need to move, you just sort of let the body naturally move the way it wants. And on the next inhale, we'll come out towards that plank again. Again, it is totally up to you what form of a plank you do. Put your knees down, your forearms down, or stay in your plank. Do little push-ups if you want. Find that core strength. One more breath. And then we'll come on back again into down dog. And from here, this time left foot comes forward to find that lunge. So if you need to put the right knee down, do, or if you need to come up and then back into lunge, do. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend again. Right to breaths. Easy, full, deep breaths. And let your jaw go. You know, remember, if you can think about like letting your teeth separate a little bit. Feeling those inhales and exhales fully and deeply. And they kind of naturally want to even out. Sometimes it takes a little bit, though, of focus and concentration to get the inhales and exhales more equal in length. as we let our hands now come on back to our hips, we're going to rise back up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, come down into a little chair pose. Bend your knees, shift your hips back a little bit. It doesn't have to be a deep chair. You're going to feel your thighs even if you barely bend your knees. Now, if you want to go deeper, you can. You can shift your weight a little more to your heels and bend a little bit deeper if that feels good, finding a little more in your hips, in your thighs. One more breath. And now press equally into your feet as you rise back up and inhale your hands right on up through the midline. And on the exhale, open your arms like wings and come on forward to your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that nice flat back. And we're going to walk into a down dog from here. So however you want to get there. Whether, you like to walk, jump. Some people jump, huh? You can also put your hands on a knee height. You know that. And then we'll bring ourselves out towards that plank. And it's totally optional what you go from here from here. A back bend if you choose. Staying in your plank if you choose. Coming into a different form of a plank if you want. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Ease your way. And we are going to do that again. Inhale our way out to that plank. Again, and it's totally optional whether you come down and go into a sphinx or a cobra or an up dog, or maybe you just want to come through from the plank or stay in plank. Good. We'll come on back into down dog. This time, let's bring our right foot through and forward to find that lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Feet right underneath us. And again, you just go where it feels the best for you. Sometimes I like to put my blocks up on a chair, put my head up on a block on the chair, or just all the way down to the chair. The elbows above the knees can be really a great way to keep your back long. Some of you like to fold and hold your elbows though, so if that feels good, be mindful and feel those easy breaths. Again, focusing on your breaths all the way through your inhales and all the way through your exhales. One more full deep breath. We'll bring our hands up to our hips as we bend our knees. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts. So adjust again if you need to find your mountain pose. Get your feet just the distance apart where you feel good. Make sure you don't have one foot farther forward than the other. And then just let your arms release down beside you. So you're letting your arms naturally hang. And everybody's arms are different, right? So how your arms hang, where your palms face when you're releasing your arms down. So just let that natural feeling of feeling open across your chest, the weight of your arms helping you release your shoulders down. And see if you can just enjoy finding your mountain pose here. Good. And then just swing your arms. Start to swing your arms a little forward and back. Just forward and back a little bit. And then bend the elbows once when they swing back, and then let them go back straight once. And you can soften your knees. You can even add like a little bit of knee movement. Not really a big bounce or anything, but you're definitely moving through the knees a little bit when you let them bend and they kind of straighten some. Good. And then finish off. We're going to come into some warriors now. So I'm going to turn my chair around. We're going to come into warrior one first. Have your blocks handy here. And we will step our left foot forward and our right foot back to come into warrior one. Whether you step that right foot back 2 feet or 3 feet or 4 feet, just make sure when you draw your shoulders around that you have that back foot to an angle where you're okay to be. Your ankle and your hip and your foot feel okay back there. Your arches are lifting up. And bring your hands behind you for a second. Now you can hold a wrist, you can hold like your forearms, or you can hold all the way to your elbows if you want. But just let yourself enjoy. You have your shoulders over your hips, Belly is gently engaged. You're feeling this link down of this right top buttock muscle down towards your heel. Good, and then we'll release those arms, and we're going to inhale them forward and up. Let them come into either a wide V, or the hands can be directly over your shoulders. And now feel energy all the way up through your fingertips, and turn your pinkies towards each other. If you decide you want to look up again, imagine you have a bar at the base of your shoulder blades, and you're lifting up and over right there. So you're not putting pressure in your low back. Your belly is still very much engaged. So one more breath here. And then as you look forward, bring your arms on down beside you. And we're going to turn sideways on our mat, and we're going to let our toes turn out a little bit for a little bit of goddess, okay? So your toes are slightly turned out, and you're going to bend your knees a little bit right out over the center of your feet. So if you look down and your knees are like going way inward of your feet, see if you can adjust the angle of your feet. So when your knees bend, they come more out over the center of your feet. And then bring your arms straight out from your shoulders, and then bend them to 90 degrees, like your palms face forward, and there's your goddess arms. See if you can lift your right heel a little off the floor, and then bring it back down, and see if you can lift your left heel a little off the floor. Good, and bring it back down. And now see if you can just stay for a breath. If you want to go a little lower, bend the knees a little deeper, do. And the next time you inhale, you're going to straighten your legs and your arms, and you're going to be like the letter X. And when you exhale, you're going to bend the knees and come back right where you were into that goddess. So the elbows bend, right. And then inhale again. Arms come long, you're an X. And exhale, let yourself come back down again. And then one more time. Inhale, letting yourself lengthen. And on the exhale again, bending. And you don't have to bend deeply. Find that goddess for a breath. And then we'll lower our arms on down. Straighten your legs up, because we're going to turn our feet now more parallel. So the toes are going to face more forward on the long edge of your mat. Then grab your blocks if you need them as you come forward into your wide-legged forward bend. So take your time, get your height of the hands that feels good. And as you start to bend a knee at a time, sometimes that makes you want to adjust how far apart your feet are. So if you need to, let yourself adjust. You know, you can get wider, you can get less wide with your feet. Find those inner thighs. Let it feel kind of good, just like you're just very easily going side to side. You know, if it hurts your knees, don't do it. Good. And then come on back into center. Bend both your knees a little bit, and then you decide, I'm going to stack my blocks up and get out of my hands, get onto my forearms, because that feels good to me. But you're welcome to have your hands down on the floor, walk them back towards between your feet if you want. But start to just enjoy whether your legs stay a little bent or you like to straighten your legs out. Just imagine that you're gently feeling like you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet, and you feel your inner thighs melt their way behind you. And then just settle into your breath. Easily watching your breath, coming in and going out. Let your jaw go. Again, if you can feel that little bit of separation of your teeth. Relax all around your eyes and your mouth. And across your forehead, you know, that's a really major place there. If you can just imagine your forehead totally smoothing out. And you're going to, from here, think of rising back up. So if you need to adjust your feet before you bring yourself on up, however you need to get up. And if you're dizzy, you can stay wide with your feet for a second until your head adjusts, right? And then you can bring your feet together however you want. Move around a little bit through your feet and your ankles. And we are going to come to the other side. So we're going to step our left foot back for that warrior one. Remember, it is front-facing warrior. The shoulders stay square. That's why having a chair there, or even just pretending you do, get your shoulders around square. Let your arms come on down and bring your hands behind you. So again, it really doesn't matter. You can just like bring your hands to gently touch. You can, if you want to hold closer onto your wrists or hold both your forearms or your elbows, you can. If you need to keep a hand on a chair for balance, do it. And then just enjoy feeling that core strength, the belly, the low back, and the hips. And then we will unfold our arms right down beside us and inhale the arms out and up. Now again, you can stay a wide V. You can bring the arms directly over your shoulder if you feel good to do that. And then again, if you want that lift, imagine the lift being at the base of your shoulder blades. So it doesn't mean you have to, come way back. It doesn't mean that you have to look up at the ceiling. You can just barely lift your gaze and feel that lift. Good, feeling equal through your feet. One more breath. And now as your arms lower down, stay really strong in the core of your body here now. And we're going to turn to face the left side of our mat, and we are going to do that goddess again. So you have your feet pretty wide, you turn your toes out as much as kind of feels okay, and then you bend your knees, and you can tell if your knees are coming out okay, right, over the center of the feet. Bring your hands on out, arms on out, and go ahead and bend your elbows to 90 degrees. Palms are facing forward. Here you are in your goddess pose. And now put your left hand down on your left thigh. Stretch your right arm long, and come over into a little side stretch. Now, this is just from the waist up. So your hips don't do any moving around, right? You're very solid from the waist down. And then come back up, lower that right arm hand down to the thigh, lift your left arm up overhead, and come over into that side stretch for the left. You can go way far if you want, more power to you. Just trying to stay as even as you can there from the waist down. Good. We're going to come on back up and lower our hand on down. We're going to straighten our legs out, turn our feet parallel again, and make our way forward into our wide-legged forward bend. So now, if you have block or blocks, put them way out in front of you. If not, your hands are on the floor, like you're doing a down dog, right? So you are able to let your heart melt down and let yourself just enjoy this full length of the spine here. So you can bend your knees, that's fine. You're just trying to let yourself reach back through your tailbone like you do in down dog. And you have great length through the spine. Good. And then let the hands or the blocks walk back underneath you again. Go ahead and bend both your knees again a little bit and see if you can now release your elbows to above your knees. And you might want to let the tips of your fingers and your thumbs touch. In this deep squat, you can go as far as you want in the bend. Let yourself turn your head side to side a little bit, looking from one foot to the other if you can. And then come on back. If you need any more wiggling before you settle into your pose here, go right ahead. Do what you need to do. Use support if you need. And let's feel those breaths get really nice and long and deep. So really focusing on the ribs expanding as you inhale. Good. One more breath. Be really mindful as you walk yourself back up. Remember, if you need to bring your feet closer together, if your back needs you to help yourself up, do, and then bring your feet on together. Walk around a little bit again. And this time, we're going to step our right foot back and come into Warrior Two. So, have your blocks handy. If you brought them around to use for your wide-legged, have them back to the front of your mat. And then step that right foot back, left foot forward. And as that left foot is forward, just look at your foot. Lift your toes up for a second on your left foot. Make sure you're not rolling to the outside edge of that foot, right? And then let your toes come on back down. And Get the adjustment of your back foot where it feels really good so you can really let your arms release down, and then imagine that you have balloons in your armpits. I know that sounds a little weird, but if those balloons were to be blown up, it'd be so easy to float your arms up. Bringing your gaze right out over the top of that left hand when it gets in line with your shoulder. Feel the feet in the floor, pressing gently away from each other. Good. We're going to turn the left palm up, and we're going to inhale, reach up towards the sky. Let your right hand give you a little support. And when you exhale, you're going to come into your side angle, whether you put your left hand or forearm on your thigh or your chair. And you can add that right arm up into line only if your shoulder lets you do that, right? Feel free to put your hand down on your hip. Good. One more breath. Beautiful. And now bring your right hand to your right hip, right? And look down at your left foot and knee. And you're going to straighten that leg out. So immediately your torso is out over that leg. You can use your chair. You can use your hand down on your leg. And then start to draw your gaze back again to look towards the long edge of your mat. And you can add your arm up here in your triangle straight up from your shoulder if you want to, but you don't have to. Now the thighs are lifted and the legs are straight. So it's similar to that side angle, only now both legs are straight. We're going to come on back, bending the front knee into Warrior Two, pressing the feet away from each other. And now let your hands come down, and we're going to turn to find a lunge. So whether you want to bring your hands down to your blocks and adjust the height of your blocks, or maybe you want to use your chair back or your chair seat. From there, you can bring your left hand to your hip and roll that left shoulder up. You can keep your hand down on your low back or on your sacrum there, or you can stretch the arm up if that feels really good for your shoulder. And some of you may even want to turn to look a little more up towards the ceiling if that feels good. And then we'll come on back down with the hand. We're going to step forward and get our feet right under us again. And we will bend our knees, press into our feet, and come up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, as our hands come down, we're going to reach up higher through the top of our head. So now you've got a lot of space in your spine. Feel the tailbone reaching down towards between your heels. And probably your mountain pose feels different than it did when we first started class. It almost always does. And then we'll release our arms on down and shake out a little bit. We are going to do the other side. So again, left foot steps back, and right foot is forward, your left foot is back, your heels are about in a line. Once you get the stance you think is good, see about lifting your right toes up. So again, you can look down and you can tell. If you roll to the outside edge of your foot, it's very obvious. If you feel like you're really based between the big toe and little toe mound equally, let the toes release back down. And then let your arms release down. Again, imagine those balloons, your armpits. Somebody's going to blow them up. I don't know who, but we're going to let that happen. Floating those arms on up and looking out over the top of your right hand there. Feel the feet now in the floor. Enjoy the powerful strength of your Warrior Two here. Soften your shoulders down. Great pose. Let your left hand come down. Turn your right palm up and inhale. Reach up towards the sky. Full breath into the right side. And on your exhale, come on into your side angle. So your right knee is still bent. You can put your right hand on your thigh or on your chair. Totally up to you, your forearm. Adding this top arm up in line with the left side of the body is totally up to you. If your shoulder bothers you, don't do it. Just enjoy finding length through both sides of the body. And now let your left hand come back to your hip if it's not already. Look down at your right knee and foot. You're going to straighten that right leg out. So your torso is still extending out over that right leg, but now the leg is straight. And you can roll your shoulder up towards the ceiling again. And you can keep your hand on your hip in triangle, or you can stretch your left arm up if you want to, straight up from your shoulder. Feel those thighs lifting up towards the hips. So you're very much engaged in your legs. And then we're going to bend that front knee. We're going to come back to Warrior Two, press the feet away from each other. It gets us right back into that core strength. And now as our hands come down, we're going to turn into a lunge. So, you may want to put your hands onto a back of your chair there, or your seat of your chair, or go down to your blocks. Take your time, really find that lunge. And then when you're ready, letting the right hand come on up to the right hip and rolling that right shoulder up. If you can put your palm down, flat down onto your sacrum, you can tell if you're dropping into that left side. Try to even level your hips out there. And you can decide about adding the top arm, totally up to you. And then we're going to release, bring our hand on back down. We're going to step forward again. Adjust yourself to get your feet hip distance apart and parallel. Soften your knees. Let your hands come on up to your hips, and we'll rise up to standing. And we're going to inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, we'll let our hands come down. Top of the head reaches up higher. See if you can let yourself just sway a little bit towards the fronts of your feet and then the backs of your feet. It's not so far that you're going to fall over. Sometimes it almost feels like you are. It's got to be really small. And then release to stay centered between the front and the back of your feet. And then do right to left. So you're shifting from right to left. And then see if you can just, again, find that centered spot. You might have to get smaller and smaller with the shifts till you find that place right in the middle. Coming into your mountain pose here now. And then we'll slowly unfold our arms. Very nice. Shake out a little bit. Move around if you need to. We're going to need either our blocks at the front of our mat or our chair seat. So let yourself bring your hands down, either to the highest height of your block or onto the seat of your chair. Okay, either one that you want to do. And we're going to bring the right, actually, let's bend both knees. Get yourself really settled in between your feet there. Let's do this just for fun. Pick your right foot up. Bring your right knee in towards your nose. So you're kind of like trying to reach your head down towards your knee towards your nose. And then you're going to stretch that leg back into Warrior 3, which is really kind of fun to do this, moving a little this way. So it does take a lot of strength here. So, okay, so from here, we're going to do that again. You're going to exhale, bring your knee down, bring it in towards your face a little bit. You don't have to get all the way. And then inhale and stretch it back out again. And then we're going to do that one more time. Exhale, let yourself bring your knee in, kind of round into your back a little bit. And then when you inhale, come back to that Warrior 3. Now, if you want to reach your left arm forward here, once you're getting into your Warrior 3, you can. Or you can put your left hand up onto your chest or onto your back if you want to. And then bring your hand down and start to open that right hip. You're coming into like a half moon. But you don't have to do anything as far as bringing your right hand up. You can if you want. If you want to go into that full balance, you can. You can think of bringing your right hand up to your hip or stretching the arm up. Just kind of stacking your right hip on top of the left. And then turn the toes back down to Warrior 3. Bring that foot down to the floor before you even think about it. Bend both knees. Bring your left knee in towards your face. And then as you inhale, stretch it back into that Warrior 3. So now you forget that it was even bothering you. So exhale, bring the knee in a little towards your face. Inhale, stretch back into that Warrior 3, toes face down. And then one more time, let yourself exhale, bringing that knee in. Inhale, reaching back. Now you're on your own. If you want to do anything with your right hand coming up, you can bring the hand to the heart. You can bring the arm, stretching it forward. You can reach it to your back if you want. Or you can say, no, I really want my hand to help me. And then bring your hand on down. Now think about turning your left toes up away from the floor a little bit. And really the weight will shift onto your right hand more. There's your half moon, right? You've opened your hip. If you want to think about bringing your left hand to your hip or bringing that left arm overhead, you can come into half moon. Or you can let yourself come into the half moon with the hands down because you're still opening your hip there. We're going to turn the toes back down. Hands are down now, and bring both feet down. Separate your feet wider to the outside edges of your mat, and then bend your knees. Now for a squat here, it might be that you want to put your elbows above your knees and stay there, or hands on the blocks. Some of you may want to squat all the way down and let yourself either turn your toes out and let your heels be off the floor, or some of you, you know, it might feel really good to widen. So there's no really right or wrong way to do a squat. You can squat with your feet really wide. You can squat with your feet closer together. You can squat with your knees forward instead of opening here in the hips. But just be in a place where you feel really good to let your hips and your low back release. Good. And we are going to slowly get ourselves back up from here. So take your time to get yourself feet underneath you again. Bring your hands on up to your hips and come on up. We'll inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, we'll let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So just enjoy a couple breaths in mountain pose. If you feel a little shifty, let yourself shift if you need. Let it feel good. Enjoy the kind of lightness in your head. Nice. And then we're going to release our arms on down beside us. Shake out a little bit. We're going to come down to the floor and we're going to sit. So you can just move your chair off to the side. We're going to sit. So if you need a blanket, you might want to grab one. We're going to sit and let ourselves, at first just stretch your legs out for a second and circle through your feet and do little wiper blades with your feet, whether they go the same way like some windshield wipers do or this way like some windshield wipers do. And from there, let's bring the soles of our feet towards each other for Baddha Konasana. You're more than welcome to grab blocks right here. You're more than welcome to keep your feet way out in front of you. If that enables you, and it depends on how you're built in your hips, that's all it means. It doesn't have anything to do with how flexible you are. But if it keeping your feet out there enables you to sit up tall quite easily, that's what you should do, rather than pulling your feet in and not being able to sit up tall, right? So feel good. Feel good in the pose, where it's as easy as you can make it, right? And let yourself just lengthen up through the top of your head. And just real softly, come to your left into a bit of a twist. Just let yourself release around a little bit into a twist. And then come on back into center, and we're just going to softly go the other way. And then we're going to come on back into center. And now, if you're able to come forward with a long back here, let yourself release into a bit of a forward bend. Now, you don't have to have these blocks here. If it feels better to let your legs hang, it feels releasing for your hips, you can. And you can come forward more and more if it feels okay in your hips. Imagining that your knees are just gently releasing away from each other. Good. One more breath. And we're going to come on slowly back up. You might want to use your hands. Your hands can actually help you bring your knees up and stretch your legs out a little bit. And we're going to come down. Have blocks handy. Now, at first, just go down onto your back, just the way you are. So everybody's got their head back where you are right now. You're laying down. But don't get too settled, because we're going to, from there, roll onto our belly. So you're just facing a little bit different direction. And once you get on your belly, come onto your forearms. So you guys can do this. All we're going to do is just a little bit of plank work. So you're here with your elbows underneath your shoulders in a sphinx. Now, if you know that's too much for your back, don't do it. Let yourself slide your elbows down towards your waist and go lower. Good, and now let's clasp our hands, send our pinky fingers out, bend our knees. Now you're flexing your feet. When you lift your hips up, there you are in a half forearm plank. Now you can kind of pull yourself towards the front of your mat a little bit, feel even more engagement. If you want more, you can put your toes down and lift your knees up and come into a full forearm plank. That's up to you. And if none of that feels good, don't do any of it. You know, you can stay in your Sphinx pose, opening the front of the body. Stay in the half forearm plank. Let yourself find some core strength there. And then just release all the way down now. Bring your arms down alongside you. Turn your palms down towards the ground. And on your next inhale, float into a low little locust. So you're reaching fingertips and toes back towards the foot of your mat. Feel really open across your chest. One more breath. And then come down, bring your forearms back forward again. Now, you can go back to that half or full forearm plank. Some of you might want to walk your knees up and come into a dolphin pose. So if it feels good to you, you can let yourself come up with your knees. So when you come up, you're in an upside down V on your forearms. It is similar to a down dog, right? Sometimes you can walk from plank right up to that dolphin too. All it means is just bringing your feet a little closer to your face. And there's no right or wrong, except you don't want your head to be on the floor, right? So you really don't want to put any pressure with the head on the floor. One more breath. Good. And now if you're up in your dolphin, bring your knees down. We're all going to walk all the way back to stretch our bodies long. And then we're going to lie down on the belly and reach our arms towards the front corners of our mat. So here you are. Just let yourself from here, when you inhale, again, float anything you can up off the mat. Your hands off the floor, your legs up. Just be mindful, it's the hardest locust there is. One more breath. And then release down. And now we're going to roll back to our backs. So let yourself from here, roll back onto your back on the floor. Get yourself situated, feet on the floor for a second. Kind of straighten yourself out there. And then bring your knees on into your chest and let yourself make circles with your knees in one direction. I like to start clockwise, but you can start either direction you want. So it's kind of like you're outlining your sacrum on the ground there. And then you're going to reverse. You're going to let the circles go the other way. Good. And then come on back and let your knees separate. You know how we were sitting in Baddha Konasana? See if you can just either bring your hands for Baddha Konasana here onto your shins or your ankles, so the feet are just looking at each other, the bottoms of the feet are. Or you can actually bring them to touch each other and wrap your hands around your feet if that feels good. You know, that's not for everybody's hips. So just be mindful, take your time. And then bring your knees on back in and let your legs stretch up towards the ceiling. Do a couple of little cross-country ski type movements with your legs here. Or you may decide you want to open your legs and close them. Just kind of play with the legs up there. You can even do those crossing of your ankles and open to wide angle from those, like having one ankle come in front of the other and switch and open if you like those. Start to listen to your own body, right? There might be any number of things right now that sound like a good idea to you. Remember, if I actually said that I do have to finish a little early today, I don't know if I told everybody or just a few people, but just so you know, that's why we'll finish just a little bit early today. But take your time. It'll take me a bit to get around here to get all the lights, and then I'll start to bring the stuff. all the good things that help you be able to relax for Shavasana, bolsters or blankets. So if you stretch out and you know that you feel not quite as comfortable as you would really like to feel, sometimes a little support underneath your knees is good. Sometimes support underneath your head, your neck is a good idea. Don't give up on me. I'm going to walk around and see. I have some of you, so let's see if we can welcome. So take your time and just enjoy. Feel how you feel after doing an hour of yoga. It's really quite different to lie down on the floor after a yoga class than just lying down normally, right? So just appreciate the ground underneath you. Let yourself accept your breaths in and out through your nose. And just be with your own breath. Of course, you always will wander off into thinking, but just keep softly returning to your breath. So you give your brain and your body time to benefit from all you just did. Just by letting yourself completely and fully relax. body kind of do what you need as you start with your fingers and toes and move on up into your arms, your legs. You know that you're welcome to roll to either side. If that's comfortable for you, you can stay on your side for a little bit. Use your arm as a pillow maybe if you don't have a blanket there. Just take your time so you give your body and your brain a little bit of time so that when you feel like rising to sitting, it really does feel like the next natural thing to do. And you know too that when you do get up to sitting, get comfortable, let your eyes be closed, let your body find its way into a comfortable way to sit so that as you lengthen up and get your head again back up on top, it feels really easy. Let your arms go to a comfortable place for your shoulders. Come back to your breath. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently to meet there in front of your heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy whatever day it is, Thursday.